kandidaat.
Opene zitting van de commissie ter beoordeling van het proefschrift en de stellingen van Vinh Ho-Huu. Happy that you're here. Welcome. First of all, I'd like to welcome the audience of this program, which is on the live stream probably, of the defense of Vinh Ho-Huu, of the dissertation entitled A Multi-Level Optimization Framework for Aircraft Operations on Near Airport Communities. While the Board of Doctorates of TU Delft has also installed a committee to evaluate the thesis and also the propositions, and the committee will have a debate, a discussion with the candidate in a few minutes. But before we start, I would like to introduce to you this committee, which is on the screens on the left, and one of them is here in the room actually. The first one who will start is Professor Chong Win, and he's from Ton Duc Town University, Ho Chi Minh City. Very delighted that you could be here by stream. Thank you for coming. Then Dr. Prats, and he is from the Université Politécnica de Catalunya, Spain. Also very welcome. Then we have Professor Gulnik, and he's from the University of Hamburg in Germany. Also welcome. And then we have Professor Hoekstra, and he's from aerospace here, Technical University of Delft. And then Dr. Hartjes, Ministry of Infrastructure and Water Management, also very welcome. And then Dr. Santos, he's also from the Faculty of Aerospace, and he is the promoter. And then last we have Professor Curran, he's here at this room, and he's also from the Faculty of Aerospace, and he's also the promoter. My name is Professor Boelhouwer, and I will chair this session on behalf of the rector. And I am professor in the Faculty of Architecture and the Built Environment. Well, I think the candidate is ready by now.
Yes.
Very good.
Yeah.
And I would like to ask Professor Chong Win to start your position, please. Professor Chong Win, could you please start your position?
Yeah, okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, welcome. First, I would like to ask some questions. The first question I would like to ask about as you mentioned in your thesis, the problem arrest in the thesis mainly belong to a departure operation.
Yes.
And you mentioned that the development framework can be extended to the problem of arrival operation. However, we know that still there are some certain difference between both kinds of operation. For example, the flight flow has some certain difference between both kinds of operation. For example, the flight flow will diverge in departure operation, while the flight flow will converge in arrival operation. So my question is that if you use the developed model for departure operation to apply for arrival operation, do you think the model can be applied directly or should be modified?
Yes.
One province, this question is clear to you?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
My dear directors, hopefully the opponent, I understand the question. The question is that in the thesis I mentioned that the developed framework can be extended to arrival operation.
Yes.
However, you think that there's some certain difference between arrival and departure operation. So if we directly apply the developed framework for problem in arrival operation, still applicable, or there's something we need to take care when we apply for that kind of problem? Is that your question?
Yeah.
Okay,
yes. Okay.
So,
right.
so my answer is that in principle we can extend the deep block model in my thesis for the arrival problem without changing the sequence of the step. For example, in the first step we can decide new departure, new arrival routes, and the second step we can do a flight allocation, and then we can take into account some safety requirements. But I think we should be careful about the different kind of safety requirements between arrival and departure operation. And for arrival problem, we may face with a more difficult situation, especially arrival flight may converge at the same time, and for that we need to have better mechanism to handle safety requirements. In terms of and meanwhile for departure operation, the flight diverges at the beginning, so the safety requirement will be less difficult compared with the one from arrival problem. So, did that answer satisfy your question?
Okay, maybe, but I want to you explain clearer. Okay, in the case right now because arrival operation, maybe how to okay because right now the requirement is more difficult. Yeah. So how to include this requirement into your optimization program?
I understand what you mean. Actually, to include the constraint into the optimization model, so we just like, for example, we just you can take a look at the paper, the last chapter, the last paper. So
which page?
I would say, page 136 in figure 2. A multi-level optimization framework. So we have 2 steps. Did you already at that page?
Can you say again the page?
136.
36. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Figure 2. So as you can see that in the step 1 we need to determine a set of optimal routes for each given standard routes. In this case, for arrival route. And in step 2, we select an optimal routes for each standard route and we distribute the flight to these routes. And within this step, we need to solve some model to handle the safety requirements. The first one, we need to solve a runway assignment model to make sure that every flight arrive at the runway should be satisfy the safety requirement. And we can apply a conflict detection algorithm to handle the safety requirement in the air. And the last one is apply a rerouting technique, which can help to avoid the problem when we cannot, when some requirement very restrict and we cannot show directly within the model, and then we can apply rerouting techniques to detour the flight, the flight aircraft to another way, try to solve that conflict. And within this step, we can include some requirement related to arrival operation for this model. So for the arrival problem, we can mainly focus on this step to handle the constraints.
Okay, yeah, I feel satisfied with your question. Yeah, your answer.
Thanks.
Okay, so maybe I would like to ask you the second question. Along the thesis, is it not the case study you apply at one airport in Netherlands?
Yeah.
So my question is that your model, the developed models in your thesis can be applied for different airports in the world. For example, can apply for airport in Vietnam because the requirement in the airport in Vietnam may be quite very different with the requirements with the airports in Netherlands.
Yeah, thank you for your question. Okay, so I would like to repeat your question to make sure if I'm clear. So your question is that I developed a model, but the case study I applied for the model mainly belong to airport in the Netherlands, with especially Schiphol Airport. So if that the model can be, if that the model is still applicable for other airports in general, especially in Vietnam. Okay, so yes, sure. I would like to say yes. The model can be extended, applied for many different kind of airport system. But as long as the distribution of population around the airport still significant. So, for example, in some cases, so we have an airport in islands or somewhere in the sea, so we cannot have, we don't have any population around, so people doesn't care about noise. So in that case, we don't need this model. But in Vietnam, as long as I know, also one very strange situation when it came here. So my promoter, Professor Ricky, also my previous promoter, Dr. Sander, he told me that we need to solve problem with noise problem around the airport. So I thought, so in Vietnam, people try to live close to the airport and to run their business a bit easier because they can sell their goods or they can make more money, and no one care about the noise. So we can look at the Google map, we can see that around the airport, the more population living. So in case, if I extend this model to Vietnam, so I think there are many issues we need to deal with. First, we need to deal with the government. If the model is still necessary for them to consider or not. So if they still allow, I think we can still find a way to apply this model for that kind of airport. Yeah, so in general, the default model is quite generic and it can be extended for different kind of airport layout, as long as there is required for handling noise impact problems.
Okay, thank you. Maybe the third question to my, okay, in the chapter 2, the paper 2, you developed one new optimization algorithm. Improve MOED. But in the chapter 3 and chapter 4, in your multi-objective optimization problem, you don't apply your new algorithm to solve your problem. You still use the traditional or original methods, such as MOED and other methods to solve. The reason why, I want to ask you the reason why you don't apply the new model for them.
So okay, thank you so much for interesting questions. So to answer the question, I would like to mention that at the beginning of my PhD project, actually I have no background in aerospace engineering, and also especially in air transport and operations. So, but when I asked my supervisor to give me some guideline where I should go first, and then he asked me to solve the problem with the departure departure rules, designing of departure rules, and then I start with his problem already studied before, and a long time of study about that problem, I figured out that I can change some method he already applied to see if we can improve the performance or not. And then I look at the literature review about the optimization techniques, and I figured out that MOEAD is one of the best methods so far according to literature review. And then I start with the implementing that method in the design, in the departure rule design problem. And I think that, yes, we can improve some aspects of that problem, for example, like the computational cost or the quality of the solution. And then I thought, yeah, I can come up with that method. And actually, I did some research and I figured out that the problem can be improved significantly in terms of computational cost. And from that, I also figured out that with the Pareto approach of the solution I obtained, so for the complicated Pareto approach, we cannot obtain very well distributed solution along the Pareto approach. So that's why I come up with the improvement of the methods, MOAD, to solve that problem. But at the end, in the later problems, we have, for example, in chapter 4, flight allocation, the Pareto approach chart is not very complicated anymore. And then we can apply some other traditional method, and we can already handle that well. Also, in terms of computational cost and in terms of stability of the algorithm, from that perspective, the method can apply a bit better than the one I developed in the chapter 2, with mainly focus for complicated algorithm.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Are you satisfied, Dr. Chong-Wing, with the answers?
Yeah, so far I think I satisfied with his answer. And maybe I can answer the last question, just also a question.
Sure. I don't know if the chairman still allow.
You should have given that?
Yeah.
Yes, sure.
Yeah, very short, 1 minute.
Yeah, okay.
20
yeah.
seconds.
Okay, sure. Maybe then a question. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. If the chairman.
Maybe it can be very short because we're running out of time already. So.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I know. The last questions are related to your proposition, the number 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned that people should complicate their lives more if they want to become more efficient. So, I think normally everybody wants to be easier. Yeah. So why you want to complicate your life?
yeah, you have to read the proposition first.
Okay. So, my dear director, I would like to read the proposition 10. So, proposition 10. People should complicate their lives more if they want to become more efficient. So actually, this proposition related to my situation during during my PhD time, especially when my daughter was born in the second year of my PhD. Oh. And actually, people always want to have a simple life, but a simple life doesn't mean that you don't want to be efficient. However, if you want to be efficient, you need to find a way to handle problem or carry a lot of things, very fast and quickly in an organized way. In that case, so if you want to be efficient, you need to be you should be able to handle a lot of things, a lot of work in a short time.
Okay.
And
okay. I think we should continue.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Professor Chong-Wing.
Thank you.
I would like to continue and give the floor to Professor Pratt. Also, Dr. Pratt, sorry.
Okay, thank you very much. Varde promovendus. First of all, I would like to congratulate you for this, what I think is an impressive work. You have taken a realistic and very relevant problem nowadays, which is the environmental impact around the airports. You have proposed several contributions. In my opinion, the main contribution is this trajectory optimization and the flight allocation in the same. Consider that a single problem, which is in my opinion, it's very, very novel. But you have also done contributions in other fields, the optimization algorithm itself, the multi-objective approach you took, and also the assessments that you were assessing Amsterdam Schiphol, Belgrade Airport, which could be another PhD. Actually, you have done almost 3 PhDs in one. Okay, in my opinion. So that's, and you have published a lot of papers. This is very impressive as well. And finally, you have done, this is what I understand from your papers and your collaborations, collaborative work with international people, right? Which is also, in my opinion, good for PhD candidates. So first of all, congratulations for this impressive work, and also congratulations for your advisors.
Okay.
I would like to start with my first question. My first question is related with the atmosphere. It's very well acknowledged in your dissertation that you are not taking into account real atmosphere, you are not taking into account wind, for example, not only wind, but real temperature or pressure profiles. And that's given as future work, clearly stated in the last chart. However, I would like to hear you more about how do you think that in Imaginary we put your system or your optimization in place in a real operation, right, in an airport. How do you think that the real weather can affect the solutions you may obtain, especially if you are in Amsterdam, that you have some windy days, some days in the year. So that's my first question.
So, my dear director, you can, the clear opponent. Thank you so much for your kind words. And before I answer your question, I would like to repeat the question if I'm clear. So your question is that in my thesis, the problem I consider do not take into account the real atmosphere condition, for example, wind or snowing, some other conditions, and also this is one of the limitations I have written down in my thesis. And you would like to know if the model can still address that situation when we include wind or some other atmosphere condition. So is that your question?
Not really. That could be the second question. But my first question is, okay, imagine that the model is not considering wind as you did. What do you think that would happen in real life when you really have wind? So you are proposing a trajectory, you're computing the best trajectory and the best frequency allocation for the different routes. But then the aircraft are flying with a real atmosphere. So how do you think your results could be different from the results you will observe? So how wind will affect the real results if you don't take it into account?
Okay. So thank you so much for your question and for your for making the question clear. My answer is that actually in my thesis I mainly focus on the normal weather condition, and then the result should be applicable for the situation where the normal condition of the weather take place, and in case if there are some other in case there are some other kind of weather condition happen, and if the model is still applicable for that or not, I would say for this one I still not sure, but I could say the model can still adjust and can be still adjustable, and then can be extend to take into account wind and some other conditions, and to make the result more realistic for different kind of weather conditions. So from this moment, the result can be guaranteed that it will be good for the case that the weather is in normal conditions.
Okay, so I understand that if the weather is not in normal conditions, then future work is needed, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I would like to go to my second question. It's about the selection of solutions. So in most of your chapters or papers, different studies you show, you end up with Pareto optimal solutions, and it's true that selecting one solution calls from decision making. There is no mathematical approach to say, okay, this is the best one, because at the end it's a trade-off you should do. So my question is, when you consider noise as one of the objectives, did you consider, because that was not clear in what I read, did you consider fairness, for example, aspects, or you were just trying to minimize a kind of average noise considering the average or the aggregate noise of the population, or you were considering, or do you think you could consider fairness aspects as well in your method, in your model?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for the question. Actually, in the thesis, there are two main objectives I normally consider. The first one about number of people noise, and the second one about fuel consumptions. And as far as I know, and with the consultant from my daily supervisor, also from one of the professors in our group, that they mentioned that these are the main popular objectives people consider in their work, and also currently attract a lot of attention from policymakers. So that's why I use both objectives in my optimization model. And the question that you mentioned, if we can still extend for all optimization criteria possible, like fair distribution of noise over the communities. So actually, for that objective, I already considered in chapter 3 at the second paper with the first objectives about the distribution of noise again our community members. Our communities living around the airport. So you can see at the second paper, I would mention that in chapter 3. In chapter 3 at the page 61.
61. Okay.
Yeah, at the first problem in session 2, multi-objective optimization problem formulation.
So you consider fairness in F1, I understand, in the first objective.
Yeah, there are 3 objectives at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you remind me what is F1? I cannot find it here.
Page 61.
Yeah, what is the objective of
Okay, the first objective is about.
Yeah, I see it. It's
yeah.
Population rate.
Yeah.
Okay. But here you consider that all the habitats, all the population, it's the same, right? So if somebody is closer to the airport, they will suffer more noise for sure than if a populated area is farther from the airport. So then you consider all of them equally, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. We're running out of time, I think. So, Many Director, I would like to ask the candidate to read proposition number 5.
Yeah, maybe you can read it number 5, please.
Yeah. Director, proposition number 5. Is it often the case that revising a paper is carried out to satisfy reviewers rather than to improve the paper?
Thank you very much.
Okay, so my question is, well, I'm a little bit surprised about this statement. I would like to see what is your experience to come up with this opinion or this statement, because you can and you should, in my opinion, always refute or provide a rebuttal if you don't agree with a comment or a revision of a reviewer. So you are not supposed to change or to make all the changes that are given by the reviewers. So what is your experience?
Thank you for the questions. Actually, this proposition would develop from my experience after revising several papers during my PhD time. I experienced that sometimes the reviewer did not provide very constructive or helpful suggestions to improve the paper. And they asked a lot of questions, but in our opinions, those kind of questions not very helpful at all to improve the paper. And but however, under pressure of publishing the paper on time, actually, especially for graduation or to meeting the deadline of the project, so we still address the question very carefully and try to address all of them and include them in the paper. But sometimes I feel it's not comfortable. but under pressure of publishing on time, so we still try to make the reviewer satisfied, and then they can press the button accept for publish the paper. And I want also experience that sometimes it's not, I'll refuse some suggestion from the reviewer, and then I got another problem. They come up with some other question and ask me for some other route of revision. And so that my paper always lasts for 4 hours or 5 hours before it's accepted.
Yeah. Okay. I understand the situation. What about perhaps changing that's my last thing, the proposition such as a PhD student shouldn't be pressured to publish so many papers, or an advisor shouldn't push or shouldn't pressure the candidate to publish.
But actually, I were in that situation. That's why I refused some suggestion, and I struggling with some other route for revision of the paper.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Professor Pratt. You're also satisfied with the answers from the candidate?
Yeah, I'm satisfied, so I'm done. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I'd like to continue and give the floor to Professor Gulnik.
Thank you very much. And yeah, I'd like to start really at the end of your thesis that you made great figure where you compare true consumption and the number of people annoyed. If I look at this Pareto criteria, I get the feeling if I want to annoy less people, I have to pay the price for higher fuel consumption. How shall I trade with this?
Sorry, could you repeat which figure are you looking at?
Oh yeah, it's on page 52.
52.
So paper number 6.
Paper number 6, 52. 52 or?
No, I think 152.
152.
I think the microphone is not open yet.
It should be.
It's open now, yeah, it's open. It's open. Yeah. Well, which page number you mentioned?
It's 152.
Yeah, 152. Okay, thanks. Yeah.
And at figure of 152.
Yeah.
Actually, I did not see any figure here.
Can you see it now?
Oh yeah, I can see that. I can recognize that, but I'm not sure which page it is. 157? Yeah, 157, yeah. I got it.
Okay. So if I look at this Pareto criteria,
yeah,
I get the feeling if I want to have less annoyance, I have to pay the price of higher fuel consumption.
Yeah.
How would you propose to deal with this problem? Is this a good choice to reduce annoyance but to increase fuel consumption?
Yeah, actually, yeah, thank you, Joe. Thank you for your question. Actually, this is also one of the research gap in my PhD thesis. I come up with the model and I live out with a lot of non-dominated solution and make decision maker confusing which solution that you choose. And that's also my recommendation for further research to look at the way of selecting a proper solution, especially in real-time operation. But from this figure, I would say that at this moment, actually, I don't make a really very restrict choice for any solution from here. But I just leave this decision to user or the decision maker. If they feel comfortable with any their preference, for example, if they would like to reduce more noise and they can pick a solution with less number of annoyance, and they can sacrifice for more fuel. So from here, I cannot make any right decision for them to choose from the Pareto solution. And I would like to mention this one is one of the research gap for my thesis.
Yeah, but nevertheless, it's not coming daughter of aeronautical engineering I would assume that you will become a leader and leader have to take decisions.
Yeah. So,
Or especially in these days. So I like to have a proposal and a good justification for that.
okay. So in this case, it's very challenging for me to come up with a solution from the set of many different solutions. But if I lead of a group, I wish I have my preference in my mind before I look at the solution. So let the solution that way. And then when I look at the solution, if I have in mind that I mainly focus on noise problem, and then I will sacrifice with fuel consumption. I will pick up the solution with less noise.
Okay. Associated with fuel consumption, we also have the problem of emissions.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Also in the vicinity of aerodromes.
Yeah.
Could you be a little bit, what are the major relevant emissions in the vicinity of aerodromes?
Yeah, thank you for that question. Actually, I'm not an expert in emission pollution. So during my thesis, I mainly focus on the amount of fuel consumption. But as far as I know from my previous daily supervisor, he also addressed some paper, addressed some study related to emission problem for community around the airport. For example, like carbon dioxide, as I'm not pronouncing, CO2 emissions, or like NOx emission.
Right.
Yeah, but actually I'm not an expert in that field, so I would say my answer may not satisfy your question.
But I think we have another minute to find out how much you are an expert. I think you know more. You correctly mentioned that NOx and CO2 are major emissions in the vicinity of airports. Do you have a feeling which of those is a more relevant one in the vicinity of airports?
For this one, I still don't know, but my feeling that NSO would be the critical one, but I'm not sure. So
NSO is nitrogen.
yeah, but I'm not sure. But I think for this one, I should look at the paper from my daily supervisor. So here he mentioned different phase of the flight because different emission pollution.
Okay.
So I would say I'm not sure about this, so I cannot answer directly with the indicator of emission will cause more problem for communities.
Okay, so in the vicinity of airports, nitrogen oxides are the most relevant emissions because they affect human health, and they occur especially during takeoff because they are associated with high temperature combustion.
Yeah.
But that's the side effect. Okay, let's change a little bit the view concerning the thesis, which I really appreciate very much. Nevertheless, there is in chapter 2 one of your papers, the so-called Chebyshev approach explained, and I must say I didn't get it completely. Could you explain roughly how it works?
Like Chebyshev approach, you mean?
Yes.
Okay, Chebyshev approach I'm using for optimization model.
On page 13 in the second paper. Yes, paper 1.1.
Paper 1.1.
Okay, you can also take also 1.1.
Is it a session 2 Chebyshev decomposition approach, you mean?
Yes, right.
Okay, so you would like your question is that how can I use this approach for the optimization model?
Exactly. That's what.
So thank you for the question. To answer this question, I would like to say that this approach actually used within the optimization processing. It's used to translate a multi-objective optimization problem into a single objective optimization problem. But when I use with the multi-objective evolutionary algorithm, so they use this approach for many times. For example, if I use a population of 50s, so I need to use this approach 50 times to decompose a multi-objective optimization problem in single objective optimization problem 50 times to get 50 different solutions. So, and then the optimization process will iterate solve that simultaneously. And then at the end, we get the set of different solutions. In this case, 50 solutions at the end. So for one solution, I will apply this approach to transfer the two objective optimization problem into one objective optimization problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got it better.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Also in this chapter 2, you talk about the Q flow calculation. And I was wondering what kind of Q flow model is behind that. Could you give us an idea what's behind the Q flow calculation?
A quick answer on that?
Yeah, I actually the field follow are using para model, para 4. Yeah.
Okay.
I just apply that model.
Okay.
In field flow. Yeah.
Because of time, Professor Good, I would like to continue.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, are you satisfied with the answers from the candidate?
Yes, I'm very much pleased.
Well, thank you very much for your position. Thank you very much. Then I would like to give the floor to Professor Hoekstra.
Thank you, meneer de rector. First of all, bij de Commonvendus, thanks for this well-written thesis. It's nice work. I like the combination of the science with the also pragmatic approach to arrive at the solutions in all these different chapters. And it was a joy to read, so congratulations with that.
Thank you.
But of course, still some questions remain. And one of the duties or honors, I should say, I have at the faculty is to teach the Introduction to Aeronautics course.
Yeah.
So obviously, when you start explaining things in the basics of aeronautics, I always want to take a quick look. And so at chapter 2, page 31,
yeah,
you explain your aircraft model.
Yeah.
And you say there, furthermore, the flight path angle is considered sufficiently small, gamma less than 15 degrees.
Yes.
With these assumptions, the equations of motion can be written as.
Yeah.
Well, normally when you say that an angle is small, the next line is often that we assume the cosine to be 1 and the sine to be 0.
Yeah.
Or the sine to be equal to the angle in radians or something like that.
Yeah.
But in this case, the cosine and the sine of the flight path angle are still in.
Yeah.
And the sine of, and it rightfully so, because the sine of 15 degrees is 0.26, I checked. So that is far from 0.
Yeah.
So I'm happy that you left them in, but I'm wondering then why do you need this assumption?
My head director and how to clear the opponent. Yeah, thank you for your interesting questions. And yeah, actually, to be honest, for this assumption, I have read before, but at this moment I forgot the correctly answer, I think. So, and because I apply this aircraft model, because I mainly address the flight space at departures, and here we also consider that the aircraft is symmetric when it's fly when we get departure from the runway, and we also neglect some other parameters. For example, like some other angle, but I forgot the name. And yeah, honestly, I did not understand very completely about these assumptions, and that's I'm using this model because my daily supervisor, also my promoter, my professor, only use this model when we address the departure problem. So that's why I use. But behind the assumption for this question, I'm not very completely understand. But for sure, I will take a look why we need to make this assumption.
Okay. Yeah. So, I think so. This is the flight path angle doesn't have to be small for these equations. They will work fine.
Yeah.
But my follow-on question was, which angles need to be small? There are 2 or 3 that you could mention. Yeah. Do you know which angles those are? You mentioned one already, I think.
I cannot I cannot remember the exact name, but
maybe we should change the topic then, because otherwise we stick on this topic.
Yeah, sorry, I will look at this problem. Sorry.
Yeah, so you said symmetrical flight. That means that you ignore the bank angle.
Yeah, the bank angle. Yeah.
In the assumption, it says it's a coordinated flight, which means you ignore the side slit angle, and you also ignore the angle of attack of the thrust. There is another aeronautically, I hope I don't scare you, but I have another aeronautical question. And it has to do with the assumption that the equivalent airspeed is equal to the indicated airspeed.
Yeah.
I think that's a good assumption for this study.
Yeah.
But why?
Yes, actually, this assumption is because at the low level of flight, for this question, I would like to mention that, like, for implementing the optimization process, we want to use like equivalent airspace to make sure that okay. Yeah, so in this case, so we also mentioned that at the constant of low altitude and speed, the equivalent airspeed can be served a proxy for indicated airspeed. And because we want to use equivalent airspeed to place a rule for indicated airspeed, and from that the pilot can read the speed from the indicators, and it's easier to manage the process of departure.
Yeah, it's indeed thanks to the flight regime and a part of the flight envelope that you're in the low altitude and the relatively low speeds, so that you can ignore the Mach effects.
Yeah.
And also the time span that you look means that constant CAS and constant ES is probably also, even if they're different, it's probably not that different. Then I had a question which nicely ties into a proposition. Meneer de Rector, could we have proposition number 6 being read?
Maybe you can read that one for us.
Meneer Director, proposition number 6. In DD research, having a good plan is useful, but making a very detailed plan chart is just waiting time.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, so my question is, again, why? Because I think it's excellent to have a good plan, and a detailed Gantt chart is just a better plan, right?
Yeah. So, okay, so my answer to the question is that, in general, for example, like if we work at a company or if we have a job, we only know some procedure and we already know some the outcome at the end. And the Gantt chart, detailed Gantt chart will be very helpful in this case. But in doing research, after several years of doing research, I figured out that the research ideas is normally changed every week and even every day.
So,
because what we plan is just what we get, and what we and we cannot ensure that what we will get will be the one we already planned. So it's better to have a plan, but if we written down very detailed Gantt chart for step by step, so and then the research idea change, so that Gantt chart not useful anymore. So I think it's not very effective to follow the detailed Gantt chart within the research field. So that's why, but without having a plan, so we cannot find a right way to go. So that's why having a plan is useful, but making very detailed Gantt charts may be wasting time.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I by the way share your dislike for Gantt charts also because they lack the in and out. I always prefer a sort of large system diagram with 5 blocks or something with in and out as well, instead of all these little bars. So I agree with you on there. So, but it also has to do with the lack of predictability apparently of research, because you have experienced yourself as a PhD that apparently the look ahead time or the prediction horizon was about 1 week, and then things were all different again sometimes.
That's true.
But there is, Dr. Kratz also mentioned the weather. There is of course also a problem sometimes with predictability of trajectories.
Yeah.
How do you cope with this, and what are the causes of the sometimes lack of predictability or the uncertainties in trajectory prediction for when we start using your method?
Actually, for this question, I think to handle the uncertainties of weather conditions, I think it's better to use new noise model for calculation of trajectories. And for that, we can take into account different weather conditions. And then for that, we can have better prediction of the solution we obtain after applying the model. And if we use the model I developed in this thesis, it's really more applicable for normal condition. And in case if we have uncertain condition, we may not consider carefully before we apply.
But are there also, so indeed the weather determines how the noise will be, how it will be distributed through the atmosphere. What are the other things that could cause unpredictability, which might hinder application of, for instance, especially the method in chapter 7, I think it is 6 or 7, where it's integrated.
Yeah.
It's just 6. So what causes could there be of uncertainties which might be a problem, and how would you cope with that?
Maybe you can also give a quick answer on
Yeah,
that.
sure. Yeah. Actually, for this one, I think for the changing of the weather condition, I think we can handle that within the flight allocation algorithm in step 2 of the deep block framework. And for the predicted of the flight of the trajectories, we should to consider different weather conditions. We should focus on the noise calculation model. But for normal operation, for the operation, we can take into account weather condition within the flight allocation.
Okay, Professor.
Yeah, we could discuss other sources of unpredictability, but maybe at another time.
Yeah, that would be very good.
That's fine for now.
Yeah, thank you very much, Professor. So then I would like to give the floor to Dr. Hartjes, please.
Thank you, Meneer Hector. Waardekom Vendus. First of all, congratulations on a very nice work, a very nice thesis. I'll keep it short. Meneer Hector, I would like to ask the candidate to read proposition number 8.
8. Okay, please, you can read that proposition.
Meneer Director, proposition number 8.
Yeah.
Playing physical sports will improve physical strength, while mentality is still dependent on who wins the game.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, so I presume there is either a negative or a positive relationship between winning and a winning mentality. So if there would be a positive relationship, then winning would lead to more winning mentality, which would make you hopefully win more. And if it's a negative relationship, it would be the exact opposite. So you would lose your winning mentality if you win. Then my question would be, how could you ever become a true champion if you choose either path. So if you would choose the positive path, it would be easy to become a true champion, unless you ever lose. And if you take the other path, it would be hardly possible to stay at the top. How do you see that? How would you become and maintain your winning mentality?
Thank you for the question, but could you repeat again? I'm a bit confused at the last sentence. So can you say, like, if we assume that we enter into the champion list and we, from that.
Okay, let's simplify the question. Let's assume you gain a winning mentality by actually winning. But you always have to start at the bottom, and at the bottom you cannot always win. So how can you ever obtain a winning mentality and with that winning mentality become a true champion?
Okay, so now I get to understand more about the question. But actually, what I mean when I written down this proposition is that the mentalities and the physical strength would be at the same time when we actually participating in playing sports. So this one should be taken place at the same time. It's not only one side. We just enter into the stadium and watch the match, and then we can come up with the mentality. If the team we expected to win, and we have better mentalities, or we can have less mentality if the team we expected is lose. For this one, I would like to mention that both sides should be at one person, and they need to participate in playing sport, and then they feel better or worse, depend on if they win the game or losing the game. So this one should be take place at the same time for one person. They need to participate playing sport first, and then they feel how they feel after the game.
Okay, thank you. I have another question. You state that one of the major recommendations in your work is to extend the research to include in your thesis you used a framework developed by you to identify the potential in rerouting and redistributing aircraft flows around the airport. Right? So that's what your framework does. This does show great potential, and you also indicate that it can only now be used as a strategic tool. What I would wonder is what steps could be taken to use the results of your research to develop an operational tool or protocol to support air traffic controllers in their daily work?
Thank you for the questions. I think in this case, the step 2 of flight allocation would be in case we can make a prototype for airport to operate. Because here we already have, let's assume that it's now the first step with designing new departure routes, and we can apply for a ride for the current route they are using to operate the airports. Then from that we can operate with the second step at flight allocation. So assume that we have a layout of the airport at the beginning, and then we have the flight schedule, and then we can distribute the flight over different routes based on the second step. And from that, we also we already seen that the benefit of the flight allocation model at that chapter, it would already improve significantly the noise impact and also fuel consumption. So I think for that would be the first step to apply in reality.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, maybe continue. Thank you very much. Thesis. Thank you.
Yes, of course, I'm satisfied.
Thank you very much. Dr. Santos.
Thank you very much, meneer de director. Waarde promovendos, thanks for your work. It's nice to see you here today. I do have a question regarding to the work that you have done in chapter 4, where you have looked into the exposure of the population and the surroundings of the airport of Belgrade. And over there you have then this analysis of considering the daily mobility of the population.
Sorry, it's we have to close. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, Madam Vido. May I now ask the candidate to leave the room?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. This meeting is officially postponed. Thank you, Mike. Sorry for.
I have a question.
Yes.
Concerning committee members, was Professor van der Wallen there?
No, he cannot join.
Oh, he could not.
So
it's the extra member.
Yeah. Thank you so much for watching live stream. So now is the time break, and we will wait for around 50 minutes, right, Steph? Yeah, 50 minutes, and they will discuss in the room that whether or not they will give me diploma, the degree. So I think that there are many Vietnamese friends watching this movie, so I would like to switch to Vietnamese to speak with my friend in Vietnam. Coi như là cái buổi bảo vệ đã ok, bây giờ hiện tại là họ đang thảo luận để xem xét là kết quả, và sau đó sẽ là cái buổi trao bằng nhá. Mình sẽ đợi thêm khoảng 15 phút nữa là bắt đầu có cái tiệc gọi là tiệc trao bằng nhá. Mình sẽ xem online tiếp ha. Bây giờ tạm thời nghỉ ngơi nhá, uống nước xong rồi quay lại nhá. Okay. So I think we can
I reopen the session and I would like to ask the candidate to take his position as director again. Yeah, please. Thank you. Het college van promoties van de Technische Universiteit Delft, vertegenwoordigd door de hier aanwezige commissie, heeft, na kennis te hebben genomen van uw proefschrift met stellingen, en na uw verdediging daarvan te hebben gehoord, met in achtneming van bepaalde in de wet op het hoger onderwijs en wetenschappelijk onderzoek, besloten u de graad te verlenen van dokter. Ik verzoek de promotor, door het college van promoties als zodanig aangewezen, zich wel de hem opgedragen taak te kwijten.
Met kracht van de bevoegdheid bij wet toegekend aan het college van promoties verklaar ik namens dat college, hier tegenwoordig door de rector Magnificus en de overige leden van de commissie, bij deze u, Vinh Ho-Huu, de bevorderde tot dokter en de alle rechten te verlenen, welke aan de dokterstitel zijn verbonden. Ten bewijze hiervan handig ik u het diploma dat het recht geeft de titel dokter voor, ondertekend door de rector Magnificus en de promotoren en voorzien van het zegel van de Technische Universiteit Delft.
Echt zo. Oké. Ja. Ja, die stukjes. Oh nee, sorry. Nee. Oké. Gaan zitten, denk ik. Ja. Well, it's the promoter's privilege to be the first one to congratulate the young doctor, so please.
Yeah. Okay, Vinh, here we are, 1 month before your 30th birthday. Yeah. Exactly. 16th of next month. You arrived in August 2016, so you were very focused, of course, on departures always, and being on time or even a little bit early, and therefore you finished in a very quick time. Of course, we've discussed the work, the societal impact, and the meaning that it can have for society, the environment, but also efficient operations, etc., and safe. So I'll not go back further with that, but you achieved really a lot in the work, especially with Sander and I. It's great he's involved in the committee today. You were integrated very quickly into the group. You became a very enthusiastic really a part of the structure and the fabric within the section. You became famous for your Vietnamese spring rolls, and we all have many nice memories of that. But also, of course, taking part in all the social things as well on the side of the, let's say, the technical or the scientific work. Also, personally, of course, it's been, it always is a big journey, but in this case, it was the whole way from Vietnam, but also with your wife, and of course, along the road as well, over the last 4 years, you had a little daughter. So that was, of course, something that was referenced in the proposition. The only comment I have is to be careful not to be as productive with kids as you were with publications. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a tribe. Yeah, you've got a new job already. You've moved home, and you're looking to the future. We always have nice discussions, of course, with Sander. Us typically pushing, and you pushing back. But very, very nice on the work, and especially the quality of the work. And of course, I should mention Dries as well, who had a big impact in terms of bringing the knowledge, his availability and his insight. But now we would look towards the future. It's a somewhat unusual situation, of course, today with the corona, but it's what it is. And we try to make, of course, the best of things and look to the future together. We like, and I like, of course, in particular, to really wish you all the best with your future. Also health and safety, of course, and whatever may come in life for you, especially, of course, for the current job, and just keep in mind the productivity with kids. But all the best for the future.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Doran, for these nice words. Well, learn Dr. Vinh Ho-Huu. You now have the right to use the title of doctor, and your doctor means that society can rely on your judgment, and that you also will act transparently and communicate independently about your work and the social relevance. In other words, your doctorate implies that you will uphold scientific integrity. I wish you a great deal of wisdom and also prosperity with your new degree. And also on behalf of the Board of Doctorates of Delft University of Technology, I congratulate you, but also, of course, your family on the live stream probably, on earning your doctoral degree. Okay. Well, Dr. Vinh Ho-Huu, I think you need to look now, like Mr. Vito, please. Thank you. Well, all the opponents from the live stream and also people who are watching the live stream and YouTube, I heard already. I would like to thank you for following this event, and I hereby close this formal academic session. Okay, so we're going to take a photo in front of the screen now. Yeah. So please be there.
Okay, so I end or continue? For the live stream, you can limit that and you can. Okay, I will do that.
They will be in the middle probably.
Yeah.
Just being faithful in whatever time zone you are, in the evening or in the afternoon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I think you can change the layout of the screen so that all the members are the same size. But can we switch to another person? Top middle top. Yeah, there. That bit to the left. Yeah, bit to the right. That white thing. I think you can help me with that. And then grid view. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Maybe need everybody on the same.
Only 4 at the same time.
Okay. We can change it.
Well, and then we change to the other.
Yeah.
Change it a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
That's an easy one to Photoshop.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Please.
Well, thank you all for coming and joining us. It was nice to have you here. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you very much for everyone indeed for joining Jaco as well. But thank you all for that and for the contribution to the quality of the thesis as well in terms of reviewing the work. So we wish you all the best from Delft.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations, Finn and Ricky and Bruno, Sander. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Congratulations, yeah.
Thanks and thank you all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Thanks a lot.
See you in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.